is Thanksgiving weekend. And so we've had this warm stretch, so they couldn't open today. They're not going to be open tomorrow, probably not Friday. But what's interesting, this is a cold enough pattern, especially at night for snowmaking. This is going to be good news for them. I think they're going to be able to crank up some snow. And I wouldn't be shocked if we're looking at a live picture from the Maggie Valley, which is where Cataloochee is, that one or two of our ski resorts try to get open sometime later this weekend. Because two things happen on Thanksgiving weekend. Ski resorts try to open, and a lot of people go to the mountains to cut Christmas trees. So I would be curious if some of them just try to get open to pull a couple people in for a couple runs here or there. But this is really good news for all the skiers out there in the southeast, because this could be a good snowmaking setup with the cold air not only coming in, but possibly sticking around for more than a couple of days, Tim.
Yeah, they need it. We thought we got ourselves off to a pretty hot start there a couple of weeks ago on Veterans Day, right? And
yeah,
we know what's happened since then. It hasn't gone below freezing since. So that's part of the economy. That's part of
yes.
Getting tourism up there into the mountains. So certainly we're rooting for them. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't change the weather, but boy, their snowmaking technology has come a long way in the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple. I've gone up to Beach Mountain. I've been to Cataloochee. I've been to a lot of ski areas across the country, and those two places might have some of the best snowmaking machines and setup I've ever seen. And it's all automated now. Each fan gun on the mountain, when the wet bulb temperature gets to a certain temperature and the air temperature, they just kick on automatically. So they maximize every minute of available snowmaking, and that's why they can get those places open. They have to, because they got to maximize every minute of cold air. So it's always shocking when people say, "Yeah, they're skiing in the mountains." I'm like, "Yeah, you give them one good cold night, and they'll get that place blanketed pretty quickly." So don't look at your local weather. If you want to go up and go skiing, look at what's happening up there. The webcams are great. They do a great job up there, and hopefully people who want to get into skiing, this is a great place to learn. Because you're not dealing with monster mountains, but you will become a good skier skiing on some of this icy stuff here on the East Coast.
Yeah, for sure. Certainly hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving, whatever you might be doing. If you're sticking around, you're going somewhere, eat well, stay warm, and be bundled up, because you're going to need it next couple days.
Yeah, I hope people came to town and did not impact for the weather that's coming and not the weather we've had, because they will be in for a shock. And also with the cold temperature, folks, make sure you're being safe with your heating devices, because this might be the first cold blast for many of you using your heat and your heating sources, so make sure you're safe with those. Be safe, everyone. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Tim and I will see you again next week, because we'll be off the next couple days.
A good evening, everyone. Vanessa Rufus here in the Live Impact News studio. We continue to follow that breaking news out of Washington, D.C. tonight, where 2 National Guardsmen from West Virginia are in critical condition after being shot. And what we're hearing from officials was a targeted attack. This happened in Farragut Square, 17th Street and I Street, if you're familiar at all with the area. This is about 0.3 miles from the White House. It's merely blocks away from the White House. And as we take a live look at the scene, we can still see it is a very active scene with roadways blocked off and crime scene tape out there. We are hearing latest reporting from NBC News that they are still at this point even just trying to identify who this shooter is. We told you before in previous reporting, the suspect in this shooting is wounded. They are getting treatment at a hospital as we speak. They are expected to survive, but at this point, authorities are still trying to dive deeper into who this person is. However, we are hearing, according to some officials here, that the suspect is initially being identified as an Afghan national. And we are hearing that law enforcement is still trying to confirm all of that person's details. They have not determined a motive at this time. They are possibly going to investigate this as possible act of terrorism, but still, once again, things are up in the air. Things are still fluid and moving with this investigation, and the conditions of those National Guardsmen, of course, very closely watched. We were actually told within the last several moments that those guard members were on what are called high visibility patrols. So if you're familiar at all with the operations that have been underway in D.C. with these National Guardsmen being deployed from not just the D.C. area, but also around from various states, including from here in the Carolinas. We saw South Carolina deploying National Guard at one point. That was back in August. And at last check, they were recalled and replaced with guardsmen from Georgia in September. But this was at the request and deployment of the president, if you will, as he had expressed a concern about crime in D.C. and had sent National Guard to D.C. in order to combat that said crime. On that note, in fact, with the latest updates here that this was potentially a targeted situation, we're hearing that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is going to ask the Army Secretary, who's in charge of the Guardsmen in D.C., to deploy 500 more National Guard members in response to what transpired this afternoon. So once again, you're looking at live looks near 17th and I, so Farragut Square. We just got within the last couple of hours an update from various officials, including FBI Director Kash Patel. We want to take you to the very latest briefing from officials.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kash Patel, FBI Director. We're here to brief you on the tragic events that happened today at approximately 2:15 local time in Washington, D.C., where 2 of our brave members of the National Guard and the Department of War were brazenly attacked in a horrendous act of violence. They were shot. They're in critical condition. As you can see behind me, we have assembled the full force of both the federal and state and local law enforcement agencies to bring bear all of our resources to make sure we find the perpetrators responsible for this heinous act. And make no mistake, they will be brought to justice. Since this is an assault on a federal law enforcement officer, this will be treated at the federal level as an assault on a federal law enforcement officer. The FBI will lead out on that mission with our interagency partners, to include the Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service, ATF, DEA, and we're thankful for the mayor's assistance in this matter, the Metropolitan Police Department and their skills in investigating homicides and gun shootings in this city is exceptional. We will work together collaboratively because this is a matter of national security, because this is a matter of pride. President Trump has been informed. We've been in contact with the White House. We will shortchange the American public with no resources to make sure we find and safeguard our nation's capital right here in Washington, D.C., and bring anyone responsible for this heinous act of violence to justice. I would lastly like to add to the American public and the world, please send your prayers to those brave warriors who are in critical condition and their families. They are here serving our country. They are here protecting everyday Americans and citizens around the world in our nation's capital. They are the heroes of this day, and we must remember them on this day and every day, and their families and the sacrifice they have made. I will now turn it over to Chief Carroll of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Carroll. I'm the Executive Assistant Chief here at the Metropolitan Police Department. At approximately 2:15 this afternoon, members of the DC National Guard were on high visibility patrols in the area of 17th and I Street Northwest when a suspect came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm, and discharged it at the National Guard members. The National Guard members, there were other members that were in the area. They were able to, after some back and forth, able to subdue the individual and bring him into custody. Within moments, members of law enforcement in the area were also able to assist and bring that individual into custody. At this time, as the director mentioned, the National Guard members are being treated at a local hospital. DC Fire and EMS responded to the scene to provide first aid for those individuals and transport them to a local hospital. The suspect in this case was also transported for treatment at a local hospital. Madam Mayor?
I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I, too, want to send my thoughts and prayers to the families of the guardsmen and to the guardsmen who are in critical condition in a local hospital. I am joined by members and leadership from the D.C. National Guard, from the West Virginia National Guard, United States Secret Service, Deputy Mayor Pia, Fire Chief Donnelly, and Metro's General Manager Randy Clark, and we join with the FBI Director in ensuring that MPD investigates, the U.S. Attorney prosecutes this case to the fullest extent of the law. I've had the opportunity to brief U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was speaking to the president when I called, as well as the United States Attorney Pirro, who assured me that this case will have her office's complete attention.
Mayor, was there any other suspect?
Chief.
Sure. So no, at this time there's no indication that there was any other suspect. The one suspect that was involved in this incident, they were shot during the interaction and they were transported to the hospital for treatment.
Mayor, does this validate the need for the National Guard here in D.C.?
What we know, Andrea, is that this is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen, that individual has been taken into custody.
Can you tell us any more details on the condition of the two National Guardsmen and whether or not anyone else was injured? And a quick question follow-up for the FBI Director. You said that we'll make sure we find the perpetrators for this act. So just to clarify, the person believed to be responsible is in custody and there are no other suspects.
Sure, so I can start out. Again, Chief Carroll from MPD. So both the individuals, the Guard members, they are in critical condition in a local hospital at this time being treated. At this point, we have no other suspects. We have reviewed video from the area. It appears, like I said, to be a lone gunman that raised a firearm and ambushed these members of the National Guard, and he was quickly taken into custody by other National Guard members and law enforcement members. No, at this time, obviously, we're very in the preliminary stages of investigation. There's a lot of things, a lot of agents that are here from various federal agencies, law enforcement agencies. We have the full power of the FBI and our federal partners here in the task force. So we're looking at all those different aspects. But we don't.
Were the National Guardsmen armed, sir?
The National Guardsmen that were shot, I'm told they were armed.
Did they get off shots?
At this time, that's part of the preliminary investigation.
Do we know who shot the suspect, allegedly?
Sure. So how the suspect was apprehended, as I said, the individual, the suspect came around the corner. He immediately started firing a firearm at the two National Guard members. So at that time, there were other National Guard members that were in the area. They heard the gunfire. They actually were able to intervene and to kind of hold down the suspect after he had been shot on the ground until law enforcement got there within moments.
And he was shot by a National Guardsman, you think?
At this point, we're still investigating exactly who shot that individual. It's not clear at this time.
Were there D.C. policemen in the area?
We don't know what kind of weapon. There was D.C. police. It happened right in front of the Metro, although there is no indication that the perpetrator was on the Metro. So there's Metro Transit Police in the area, and obviously being on 17th Street by the White House, Uniform Division of Secret Service were in the immediate
And do you know what kind of weapon the alleged perpetrator used?
We do not know at this time. It's still in investigation.
We're going to be able to take a couple more.
Has been able to question the suspect, or is his condition so severe that you haven't been able to have a conversation?
Sure. And so as I said, we're very preliminary in the investigation, so we're looking to all aspects of who the individual is, his connections. At this time, he's still in the hospital receiving treatment.
And I would just like, I would just like to add, the reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today. there was not any further injury and any further shootings. We should highlight the fact that the men and women of law enforcement, the interagency, the Department of War, and the National Guard executed their training with great precision today and prevented an even greater tragedy from befalling us. These National Guardsmen are heroes, and we must pray for their safety and their speedy recovery. And as the chief said, we are in the preliminary stages of this investigation. We will run down every single lead, every piece of evidence. This is the power of the U.S. government at its best at the state, local, and federal level. That is why this interagency group is standing behind us to assure America and the world that we will continue to keep D.C. safe. And thankfully, we have Metropolitan Police Department, the National Guardsmen, and federal agents, and the Department of Justice and Attorney General willing to prosecute the mission to keep Americans safe. And President Trump has rightly stated that this heinous act will be investigated, and he has thanked the National Guardsmen and women and the men and women of law enforcement.
Did the suspects say anything at the time? Why did the West Virginia governor say that they've been killed? Was anyone else shot?
Have the families been notified?
General, what about the
Once again, that's the latest briefing from officials in D.C. following that afternoon shooting near Farragut Square, about 3/10 of a mile from the White House, where 2 Guards members were shot in the head, is actually what we heard after that briefing. Critical condition at last check, and we do continue to watch the very latest. We'll take a quick break, folks. We'll be back in 2 minutes with the very latest and different perspectives as well on this breaking news that we're following in D.C. Welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. Of course, we continue to follow the latest out of Washington, D.C., where we still have a very active scene investigation underway following a shooting, we're told a targeted attack, on National Guardsmen who were on visible patrol over by Farragut Square. So this was about 3/10 of a mile from the White House. You can see you've got D.C. police that remain on scene. We also know that federal authorities are involved with this investigation at this time. Last check, the Guardsmen were in critical condition. Sources confirming to NBC News that both of them were shot in the head, and the suspect in this case, while still unidentified, authorities are believing that they're closing in on getting a clearer picture of who this suspected shooter is, and the motive is yet to be determined, we should mention. We will, of course, keep you updated on the very latest with that front. Meantime, we know that this is all happening on essentially Thanksgiving Eve. And there are going to be a lot of big events happening around the nation tomorrow. Safety going to be top of mind. And so with that, we want to talk about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. We've got officials in New York City giving a briefing on how they plan to keep folks safe as so many are gathering to enjoy Thanksgiving Day.
Welcome to New York. Before we start the press conference, we just want to have a moment of reflection on two National Guardsmen and women who were shot in Washington, D.C. The investigation is ongoing. The police commissioner and Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner is closely monitoring the situation, and as we learn more, we will share more. To those who are here to enjoy the amazing Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, I'm looking forward to being out tomorrow with so many men and women and children and families. You know, we know that we bring our families here, children, but as adults, we know we love the parade also. And I'm going to look forward to seeing all of our favorite characters that are going to be here. And we have a role as the New York City Police Department to ensure that we keep all New Yorkers safe. And I want to really thank Will and the whole Macy's Association, the volunteers, the balloons behind us play such a major role in this parade. And for 99 years, the Macy organization has put on this Thanksgiving Day Parade, and we are pumped up to see this year's festivities. The Macy's Thanksgiving Parade marks the official start of our holiday season, and it plays a major impact on the economics of the city, from Black Friday to the deals to the shopping. This season time not only is a lot of fun to exchange gifts, but it also plays a major role in the economic stability of the city. New Yorkers are going to enjoy this parade season. Tomorrow the weather is going to be mild. We're going to monitor the situations with the balloons. If it reaches a level that we cannot have them up, we'll communicate with the Macy organizers to give proper information. And to my entire team that's here, FDNY, New York City Police Department, Department of Sanitation, DOT, all the volunteers, we just really want to say thank you. They take time out from their families to be out here to make sure this is a smooth parade and it operates in a fair way. Those who are traveling in the city take public transportation. Many roads are going to be closed, so it's better to use our public transportation. What I like to say is the best transportation in the entire country to get to and from the parade locations. We look forward to many of the balloons, some of the popular balloons that will be in display, but most importantly, have a great time and a safe time. See something, say something, do something, notify the men and women who will be along the parade route, our police uniform. Some of the police personnel will be in uniform, and you'll see, but much of our law enforcement apparatus would not be in uniform, doing what they do best, monitor the situation. So I want to turn it over to the police commissioner of the city of New York, Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I want to echo the mayor's remarks. I want to address the shooting incident that occurred earlier today in Washington, D.C. At this time, we know that at least 2 National Guard members were shot in what appears to be a targeted attack on law enforcement. We are keeping the Guards members and their families in our thoughts and prayers, and we are closely monitoring the situation and coordinating with our law enforcement partners in D.C. And at this time, there appears to be no known nexus to New York City. But of course, we will continue to track the situation as it develops and more information becomes available. Now turning to tomorrow's festivities. Other than the ball drop on New Year's Eve, the Thanksgiving Day Parade is the most iconic event in New York City, as 8,000 marchers, 42 balloons, 28 floats, 11 marching bands, and some of the entertainment industry's biggest stars come to New York to officially kick off the holiday season. They'll be putting on a show for 3.5 million people along the parade route and about 50 million more watching on TV from around the world. It is the centerpiece of America's Thanksgiving celebrations, and for the 99th year, the NYPD will be there to keep everyone safe. We're grateful to partner with the team at Macy's. So many people work in tandem to ensure that this parade runs smoothly. And it all hinges on planning, on precision, and on getting every detail right. And I'm here today to go over some of those details. First, we can tell you that at this time, there are no known specific credible threats to the parade. But as always, New Yorkers will see an increased police presence with thousands of NYPD officers posted along the 2.5-mile parade route and on the surrounding blocks. They will be supported by specialized units from across the department, including ESU, Mounted, Canine, Harbor, Aviation, the Bomb Squad, and more. Our helicopters and our drones will be deployed to enhance our patrol coverage on the ground, and there will be hundreds of NYPD and DSNY blocker vehicles strategically positioned along the route, along with 14,000 metal barricades to protect both the marchers and the spectators. Before, during, and after the parade, there will be security measures that you will see, and others, as the mayor mentioned, that you will not see. Our Joint Operations Center will be fully activated with all of our city, state, and federal partners, and personnel there will be actively out and in the surrounding area. Intelligence teams will also be analyzing social media for potential threats, and response units will be deployed citywide to investigate any reports in real time. The most important asset that we have, though, is you, the public. There is no greater force multiplier than a responsive and an engaged public. So we ask everyone to stay alert. As the mayor said, if you see something, say something. You can either talk to a uniformed officer along the route, or you can always call 911. As always, we are paying close attention to tomorrow's forecast to monitor wind conditions, and we'll make a decision in the morning if any changes to balloon heights are required. Some other logistics for tomorrow. The parade route steps off from the corner of West 77th Street and Central Park West, with the first groups marching at 8:30 a.m. They will head south on Central Park West, turn left onto Central Park South, and then right onto 6th Avenue. The route will end at 34th Street in front of the Macy's Herald Square, with the last marchers finishing around noon. So starting at 9 p.m. tonight and then rolling through the end of the event, there will be a restricted zone extending on either side of the parade route, with street closures from West 77th Street down to West 59th Street, 9th Avenue to the park, including all Central Park transverse roads, and 59th Street down to 34th Street, 7th Avenue to 5th Avenue. There will be no crosstown traffic through the parade, and there will be 5 pedestrian crossings on 6th Avenue at 57th Street, 52nd, 48th, 44th, and 39th Streets. And we anticipate all streets to be open to both vehicle and pedestrian traffic by around 3 p.m. tomorrow. Spectators entering viewing areas should know that bags are subject to inspection, and prohibited items include coolers, oversized bags, chairs, umbrellas, strollers, bicycles, pets, alcohol, all weapons, obviously, and any large items that could obstruct the view of the people around you. Additionally, the use of drones will not be allowed. For a full list of prohibited items, please check the advisory that is posted on the NYPD's MTA's website. Since the parade cuts through the center of Manhattan, you can expect vehicle traffic in the area to be heavy and parking, of course, to be very limited. So, if you plan on joining us tomorrow morning, we urge everyone to take public transportation. Just be aware that from 4 a.m. until 11 a.m., the F line subway will bypass 57th Street and the C line will bypass 81st Street. And 5 bus lines, M1, M2, M3, M4, and Q32, will be diverted away from the parade route from 2 a.m. until 7 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. Other than that, the transit system will run as normal, but please check the MTA's website for the most up-to-date information. I want to thank every member of the NYPD who will be spending their Thanksgiving keeping New Yorkers safe, and every partner agency who will be working with us to deliver another successful parade. The world will be watching, and once again, the NYPD will be ready. Happy Thanksgiving and stay safe. And now we will hear from Macy's.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Will Koss. I'm the executive producer of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It's a true honor to welcome you all here tonight, alongside Mayor Adams, NYPD Commissioner Tisch, as we gather to celebrate our annual balloon inflation ahead of our 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Since 1924, the parade has marked the start of the holiday season, bringing magic, wonder, and creating cherished memories that span generations. Macy's Parade is made possible by the talented team of Macy's Studios artisans who design, who build each and every float, balloon with creativity, precision, and unmatched skill. Our parade stands as a showcase of world-class entertainment, featuring an exciting lineup of over 5,000 volunteers, 34 balloons, 28 floats, more than 700 clowns, our favorites, 11 marching bands, 9 performance groups, and appearance by the biggest stars in pop culture. As Santa crosses 34th Street, we officially, as Mayor Adams mentioned, welcome the holiday season together. None of this would be possible without the steadfast partnership of our partners, from our partners at various New York City agencies, the NYPD, Mayor Adams, Commissioner Tisch, and the thousands of dedicated city employees. Your collaboration ensures that this event continues to surprise and delight each year. As we look forward to our parade's 100th march in 2026, we celebrate togetherness, joy, and this event as an enduring gift for our city and for our nation. On behalf of Macy's and our colleagues nationwide, we want to thank you for being part of this beloved tradition and for helping us tell the stories that help to create wonderful holiday memories for a lifetime. Thank you again for being here. It's a privilege to be able to reintroduce New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Appreciate you.
We're going to take on-topic questions about security for the parade tomorrow. Okay, again, on topic. Mark, CNN. Anything about lone wolf attacks in light of what happened in D.C. earlier today and any sort of security bulletins that have happened? Any new strategies that are put into place?
As we mentioned at this parade, there are assets that you will see and assets that you won't see. The assets that you won't see are largely from our Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau, and they will be out there, of course, in full force. There are also going to be thousands of uniformed officers out along the routes as well. But as we remind everyone every year, the public is the best force multiplier that we have. If you see something, say something, either to a uniformed officer along the route, or you can always call 911. But I'll just reiterate, there are at this time no known credible threats to the Thanksgiving Day Parade at this time.
Commissioner, anything about this year versus last year's security overlay that had a change based on any particular challenges?
I think what I would say about this year is there's a little more of a lot of different things. More drones that will be deployed, slightly more officers than last year. We are being quite vigilant in our preparations for the parade this year, and you will see a robust NYPD presence out there.
Well, this year,
Protesters have been an issue in the past in terms of stopping. Protesters have been an issue in the past in terms of stopping the parade. Have you guys learned anything to stop them from stopping the parade in terms of strategy? I honestly don't know.
Yes, we have had protesters disrupt the parade, I think, for the past 2 years. The NYPD has teams that are prepared to address that and any other situations that come our way.
Has anything changed in the last few hours in regards to security? What happened in Washington, D.C.? We talked a lot about all the extras, but what about the last few hours? Anything changed?
Unfortunately, what happened in the last few hours is one attack in a growing number of attacks against law enforcement across the country. So the type of thing that we saw in Washington, D.C., tragic, that type of planning has been built into our plans for deployment tomorrow already.
Thank you, everyone.
Mayor Adams, do you want to reflect on your legacy, your final Thanksgiving?
No.
All right, folks. So once again, briefing from officials in New York City on safety with the Thanksgiving Day parade tomorrow. And of course, safety top of mind, not just because it's going to be a large gathering that's very high profile, one of the biggest events in the city of the whole year, but also kind of colored a bit thinking about today and what happened in D.C. this afternoon with what we're hearing is called a targeted attack on guardsmen who are on high-profile, visible duty operations in D.C. So with that, we want to actually talk a bit more about some information that we just got within the last couple of minutes regarding the D.C. shooting. We talked about how the suspects in custody, they were shot in the interaction between guardsmen and the suspect, but it's been a kind of a long path to identify the person. Authorities didn't initially know who the person was. Now the FBI says that they believe they have identified this suspect. This is according to multiple law enforcement who shared that information with CNN. By the way, we're bringing you back now live to the scene of that investigation over by 7th Street and I Street in the D.C. area. So we're told the initial identification matches a man from Washington State who appears to have immigrated from Afghanistan in August of 2021. Once again, that's according to multiple law enforcement officials who are familiar with this investigation, who have shared this information with CNN. They have not shared the name with media to our understanding and looking at all the reporting that is out there. But at this point, FBI believes they know who this person is. So with that, we'll just let you know we will continue to keep an eye on all of the information coming out of D.C. tonight and all of the live feeds. We'll take a quick break, folks. Back in 2 minutes with much more. All right, welcome back, everyone. We've got a breaking update on that shooting from this afternoon in D.C. We mentioned that FBI officials believe that they were kind of closing in on who this suspected shooter is. We have a few more details within the last couple of minutes. NBC News has put out a report that the suspect in this shooting, which believed to be a targeted attack on guardsmen who were on visible duty in D.C., a 29-year-old man from Bellingham, Washington. The name is Ramanullah Lakhanwal. So once again, that's according to NBC, and they are getting this information from 4 senior law enforcement sources who are familiar with this investigation. So they believe this individual, 29-year-old man from Bellingham, Washington State, is responsible for this targeted attack on National Guard members. You'll remember, of course, based on the latest briefing from officials there in D.C., this person is believed to have essentially come around the corner as the guardsmen were on patrol, raising a firearm and shooting at them. The 2 National Guard members still listed as in critical condition. We have not received any further update on status since that first one that we got around 5 o'clock this evening. Only to say that a few additional nuggets we received was from NBC reporting around the 6 o'clock hour, where NBC News was hearing from 2 officials familiar with this investigation that those National Guardsmen were shot in the head. So this is obviously sparking a lot of response from folks across the nation and people who are high-ranking. The president, of course, weighing in from Mar-a-Lago. He was not in D.C. when this shooting happened, although, of course, it was very close to the White House. We know J.D. Vance, the vice president, was not in D.C. either, was actually on a scheduled Thanksgiving visit to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where he was set to speak to troops there and also have dinner with them and their families. So we actually heard from him just a little bit after the shooting was shared with the public, and he remarked on how he feels about the situation and how he feels about men and women in uniform. Take a listen.
Thanksgiving with their families instead of losing their lives, because I understand they're still in pretty tough condition. But I think it's a somber reminder that soldiers, whether they're active duty, reserve, or National Guard, our soldiers are the sword and the shield of the United States of America. And as a person who goes into work every single day in that building and knows that there are a lot of people who wear the uniform of the United States Army, let me just say very personally, thank them for what they're doing. We're grateful to them, and we're praying that they're going to be safe and they're going to spend Thanksgiving with their families. God bless them. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the business of the Army and about what you're doing and about why it's important to the United States of America and why we are proud of you, every single one of our soldiers here in Fort Campbell and all across the world. We have got some incredible guests here to honor this moment, to honor you, to say thanks to so many of you for spending time away from your families here this day before Thanksgiving. And I want to give just a few shout-outs to some of our special guests before we get started. First of all, to General Travis McIntosh and Command Sergeant Major Charles Walker, thank you guys for leading this incredible facility, and thank you for serving in the United States Army and making us proud. Where are you guys? Please stand up and be recognized. Thank you all. We've got my dear friend Senator Marsha Blackburn. Marsha, please stand up and say hello. And we also have Congressman Rose. Where is Congressman Rose? Please stand up. Thank you, Congressman. It's good to see you. Now, I've got to, of course, thank my dear friend Bob Ritchie. You better know him as Kid Rock. But I want to say to my staff, I gave them one instruction, and that's that I don't have to follow a literal rock star before I give a speech. And they screwed that up the day before Thanksgiving, so every single one of them are fired. But thank you to Bob Ritchie, Kid Rock, because he's not just a great musician, he's not just a great American, he is a person who loves the soldiers of the United States Army, and we are proud and grateful for Kid Rock for being here today. I want to take another few moments and just say thanks to Major Josh Wilcox Master Sergeant Aaron Duhacek, Mr. Jim Parks, Major Rob Wright, and every single soldier who made it possible for me to come and visit. Now, I won't say that the weather is cooperating because it's windy as hell and it is cold, man. It is cold up here. My staff told me to wear a jacket, and I said, "Now, just be fine." And here I am, 2 minutes in, wishing that I had listened because it is really freezing cold up here. But we're gonna have a little fun despite that because we're here to celebrate not just the United States Army. We're here to celebrate each and every one of you. And I know we've got some units here at Fort Campbell, and I want to give a shout out to each of the great units. So if you are with the 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles, let me hear you a little bit. Where's the 101st Airborne? That was pretty damn good. It was pretty damn good. Let me say that the 101st Airborne is one of the proudest units in the entire United States Army for all warfighters everywhere. Everybody knows the prestige, everybody knows the professionalism, and everybody knows the greatness of the 101st Airborne. So when the nation calls on the 101st Airborne, you all execute, you make us proud, you kick the enemy's ass, and you come home safely, and that's exactly what we want our soldiers to do. We are honored. Somebody said, "I agree." Thank you. I appreciate that endorsement. We're also honored to be here to welcome the men and women from the Strike and Destiny Brigades who just finished deployments in Europe and the Middle East. We're the Strike and Destiny Brigades. I want to say to those of you who are here for the first time back home in a few months, we're proud of you, we're grateful to you, and from the Vice President of the United States, welcome home. We also want to recognize the Legionnaires. Where we got some Legionnaires at? Like 5 or 6. We got some Legionnaires. How about the Night Stalkers of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment? We got some Night Stalkers out here? A few? Like 3. They're all working right now. And I also want to give a shout out to the 52nd Ordnance Group, members of the 2nd Battalion, 44th Air Defense Artillery, the men and women who run the elite training schools here, and many, many more soldiers who make this one of the proudest military installations anywhere in the United States Army. And I want to tell you, just give you a message from the President of the United States. I know he couldn't be here, but the President is proud of our soldiers, and he's proud of every single one of you. So from the President of the United States, he just wanted to make sure that you knew he wished you a happy Thanksgiving, and he's grateful for all you do. Now, I'm proud and happy to serve with a lot of very good people. And one of them is my dear friend Dan Driscoll, who's the Secretary of the Army. Dan is doing a great job, and I also want to give a shout out to our incredible Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. I think he's doing an amazing job. And you know, Pete gave a speech at Quantico, which is a Marine base, don't hold it against us, but he gave a speech in Quantico a few months ago that I think is one of the best speeches that I've heard about the United States military, because he was talking about the incredible esprit de corps, and he was talking about the importance of holding the United States Army and all of our branches of the military to the very highest possible standards. And I listened to this speech, and I'm thinking as I'm watching this speech, man, Pete, this is a hell of a speech. This guy is one amazing orator, and he was talking about the importance of military standards. He said, and I'm going to quote here from his speech, "The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops, or alongside people who can't meet basic standards?" He was talking about the importance of bringing the highest standards possible to the United States Army. And I hear Pete saying that, and I'm like, hell yeah. That's exactly what we want out of the United States Army. I see a lot of you nodding your heads. And then he talks about the importance of this job and why we have to have the very best people doing this job. He says, because this job is life or death, standards must be met. and not just met at every level. We should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. And this means that the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. We're talking about bringing the highest standards in the world to the very best United States Army. I'm ready to run through a wall with this guy. And then Pete goes, no more beardos. I'm like, what the hell is that all about? He's talking about me. And I said to Pete afterwards, I was like, man, you had me. This whole speech was amazing. But you know what? The point is here that we believe in you so much. We believe in your mission so much that we know that you guys can meet the highest standards in the world. And when you look to your left and to your right, we want you to know that you're serving with the very best and the very brightest this nation has to offer. Before I came over here, I was at the chow hall, and we got to serve some food to the soldiers there, and I was talking afterwards, just sharing a meal with a few of the soldiers, and a guy said to me something really interesting. He said that 250 years ago, when the Army started, there was a Prussian military leader who came over and helped train the very first United States Army, because of course back then we didn't have very many military experts in our country. We were still in our infancy. And what he said was very fascinating. I think the guy's name, he said, was von Steuben. Von Steuben said that it was only the Americans who just didn't need an order, but also needed to be told why they were doing what they were doing. And I thought that was a fascinating insight to the soldiers of 250 years ago and a fascinating insight to the soldiers of today. We don't just want people who mindlessly follow orders. We want people who think, because we know that the most powerful weapon in the United States arsenal, the most powerful weapon anywhere in the world, it's not a rifle, it's not a tank, it's not a helicopter or an airplane. The most dangerous and lethal weapon anywhere in the world is a United States soldier, and we're proud of you, and we're going to stand behind you every step of the way. And with that basic mindset of not just telling you what we need you to do, but why we need you to do it, I think you all should expect from your military leadership, from the president on down, you should expect us to explain what it is that we're doing and why we care so much about it. Why do we care so much about high standards? Not just because we think that standards got a little lax in the last administration. We care about high standards because if, God forbid, the President of the United States asks you to go to war, we want to make sure that the people that you're fighting with are the very best. We owe it to your moms and dads, your grandmas and grandpas, to only send the very best people off to foreign conflicts, and that is why we care so much about standards. You've heard our Secretary of the Army, our Secretary of War, you've heard the President of the United States. If you've listened to anything that they've said over the last few months, they talk a lot about preparing the Army and the whole military for the age of modern warfare, because it's changed a lot. We've got drones now, we've got cyber warfare, we've got satellites in space that are as important to the modern warfighter as anything, as any rifle or tank or airplane was 20 or 30 years ago. Now, yeah, of course, we still got a lot of tanks. We still got a lot of rifles. We still got a lot of the things that we've always had. But in this new generation of warfare, we need to give you the technology and the training to be the very best. And we know that you are the very best, but part of training you to be the very best is to make sure that you have the ability to use the modern weapons of warfare better than anybody else. When we look at the battlefield of the future, when we look at the next war, God forbid, if we're called on to fight it, it is going to be, if anything, a war up here as much as any other conflict in the history of the world. If you look at what's going on in Russia or Ukraine, or you look at what's going on in some of our counterterrorism missions, or you look at what could happen in the future in the next military conflict, it's not going to be the war that we fought 20 years ago. It's going to be a much...
And folks, we'll take a quick break here on Live Impact. Back in 2 minutes, we'll rejoin with Vice President J.D. Vance's address to troops at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. You heard him addressing the situation in D.C. as well. But at this point, just pepping up the troops and thanking them for their service. We'll be back in 2 minutes with much more on the other side. Welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We are hearing from Vice President J.D. Vance on Thanksgiving Eve. And, of course, we mentioned he had addressed the situation going on in D.C., the targeted shooting, according to officials, of National Guardsmen this afternoon. We want to rejoin with his address to troops in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where he did mention what happened in D.C. and reflected upon that, and has now moved on in his statements to essentially expressing his gratitude to the troops for what they do.
That one of the mistakes that we made in this country, and let's be honest, it wasn't just Democrats, it was Democrats and Republicans, is that we were far too willing to send the bravest people in the world, our best natural resource, you all, the young people who put on a military uniform and are willing to fight and die for their fellow countrymen. We were too willing to send you off to battle without a clear mission, a clear definition of what you were supposed to accomplish. That was the mistake of Democrats and Republicans. It is the great stain on the political leadership of this country that we had the best troops in the world, and very often we went and sent you off to battle without a clear mission. And that is something this president and this administration is never going to do. If we ask you to go off and do something, if we ask our soldiers to risk their lives to defend their countries, what I promise you is that we're only going to do it with a clear mission and clear guidelines. And we're going to give you the tools necessary, we're going to give you the resources necessary, and we're going to empower you to do a very simple thing, which is kick the enemy's ass and come home safely. That's what the United States wants from its soldiers, and that's what the President of the United States asks of each and every one of you. It's not that hard, but that's what you should demand of your political leadership. Just as you follow orders of the President of the United States, this President stands by you. And if he asks you to do something hard, it's only going to be for a very good reason. You know, one of the things that I love about Thanksgiving, it's probably my favorite American holiday. If you think about all the holidays that we celebrate, Thanksgiving is the most uniquely American holiday. You know, Christmas, of course, the birth of Jesus, all of these other holidays, they're very important. And I love Christmas as much as anybody. I've got 3 little kids. But Christmas is a holiday that 1.8 billion Christians celebrate all over the world. Thanksgiving, what we celebrate tomorrow, that is a uniquely American thing. That's why, for example, we have, turkey. Think about turkey. Who really likes, be honest with yourself, who really likes turkey? You're all full of shit. Everybody who raised your hands. I know. Think about it. And here's how I know that every single one of you who raised your hand is lying to me. How many times do you roast an 18-pound turkey just randomly? Just, a nice summer afternoon, we're going to go get an 18-pound turkey. Nobody does it because turkey doesn't actually taste that good. But on Thanksgiving, on the most American holiday, I got a fan over here, on the most American holiday, we're going to cook a turkey, by God, because that's what Americans do. We cook this gigantic American bird, and we do all kinds of crazy things to make it taste good. I talked to a soldier today who she said she's going to deep fry a turkey, and I'm actually going to deep fry a turkey myself tomorrow. And look, here's the thing. If you've got to deep fry something to make it taste good, it probably isn't that good. That's a pretty good rule of thumb when it comes to food. Chicken is good all the time. Chicken is good when you deep fry it, but it's also good outside of it. But here's the thing about Thanksgiving. It is so American because at the heart of it is the spirit of gratitude. And I know that every single one of you has something tomorrow to be very thankful for and to be grateful for. And that's what I think, really separates. People ask me all the time for advice. And the only piece of advice I can ever give that I think is true for every single person in every circumstance is that the happiest people that I've ever met, the most successful people that I've ever met, they live their life with a spirit of gratitude. They recognize that they would not be there but for the grace of God and a lot of great people in their lives. And so if I may, as your vice president, that's the one piece of advice I want to give to you on this day before Thanksgiving is to live your life in the United States Army, to live your life everywhere with a spirit of gratitude, to recognize that you wouldn't be wearing that uniform were it not for somebody in your life who loved you and cared for you. That you wouldn't have this incredible opportunity to serve the United States. And yes, it's tough. And yes, it's a life of sacrifice. But I happen to believe that the life of service and sacrifice is the greatest blessing that we have in this room today. Because what an amazing country it is that takes people from all walks of life and makes them part of the same United States Army, the same sword and shield for the American people, the same organization that for 250 years has kept us safe. So tomorrow, I'm thankful for a lot. I'm thankful for my beautiful wife and our 3 beautiful kids. I'm thankful to have the opportunity to serve as Vice President of the United States of America. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful to Almighty God for the incredible blessings that He's given this country and also He's given to me personally. But one of the things at the very top of the list that I'm thankful for is the United States Army and for the people in this room. Now, I know that a lot of you are going to spend tomorrow with your friends and families, but I also know that a lot of you are not going to have that opportunity. That you've got deployments you've got to prepare for, that you're stuck on this base, you're not able to travel home because you've got to prepare for the mission. And when I think about all the many blessings that are very, very present in my life, there is nothing that compares to being the Vice President of the United States at a time like this. Vice President of all of you, Vice President of the greatest fighting force that exists anywhere in the world, the United States Army. You guys make this a happy Thanksgiving for me, because every single day you show up to work, you put on that uniform and make your nation proud. You make me proud to be your Vice President. So happy Thanksgiving, soldiers. Keep on doing what you're doing, and never forget that the most deadly weapon anywhere in the world, it's not about technology, it's not about what you're holding in your hands, it's about what's up here. You are the most dangerous weapon anywhere in the world, and America is counting on it to keep us safe. Happy Thanksgiving, soldiers. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Once again, folks, that was Vice President J.D. Vance speaking to troops in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, briefly addressing that breaking news from the day in Washington. What we're hearing is called a targeted attack on Guardsmen. We've got a breaking update to share, in fact, on this front. We want to preface this statement from South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster with kind of a statement that this was previously scheduled, so you'll see this in this message that he posted on Facebook, but he's commenting on what happened in D.C., saying, quote, "Tonight we lift up in prayer the families of the brave West Virginia Guardsmen who were shot in defense of freedom. We're a nation created and sustained by God-fearing, law-abiding people. Lawlessness will not stand." Now, you'll see the governor goes on to say that next week, he's actually going to be sending more than 300 South Carolina Guardsmen to D.C. He does note, once again, this is previously scheduled, and they're doing this to relieve the Georgia Guardsmen who relieved them 2 months ago. He ends by saying, "Godspeed, sandlappers." And we mentioned this when we first got wind of this breaking news in D.C., that there were Guardsmen who'd been shot. We immediately wondered, where were they from? Because we know that National Guard from various states have been deployed to D.C. at the direction and request of the president. And we know that South Carolina back in August had deployed Guardsmen. They were actually recalled back in September, replaced by Georgia Guardsmen. So you can now see they're going to be switching places once again with these Guardsmen from South Carolina now returning to D.C. This announcement here made on obviously a very somber day, not only for the D.C. community, but at large law enforcement and also service member community as well. So with that, much more to come on the other side of the break. We're hearing from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on their response now to the shooting in D.C., as well as a brand new video statement from the governor of West Virginia, the state, of course, from where these 2 wounded Guardsmen hail from. We'll be right back in 2. Back here in the Live Impact News studio with some breaking news we're following out of East Charlotte. We're just getting word of a stabbing that has left one person with life-threatening injuries. You're looking at a map of where this stabbing happened, North Sharon Amity Road. It is just south of the intersection with Albemarle Road. You can see it's kind of around that Idlewild Farms neighborhood, North Sharon Amity neighborhood. And there are some delays you can actually see. No doubt there's a crime scene, maybe some flashing lights, so folks driving through the area may be slowing down to take a look at what's going on. We've not heard of any road blockages, but we'll let you know if we do see that on our radar. Once again, this information coming from officials. Medic is the one who confirms that one person was transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Much more on this to come, and we do continue to follow all that is transpiring in D.C. We're still watching live images from the ground there. That crime scene still very active over by Farragut Square, just a few blocks from the White House, where earlier this afternoon we're seeing authorities call a targeted attack on National Guardsmen that were on visible patrol around the area. 2 guardsmen at last check in critical condition. Reports from NBC News that they were shot in the head. Suspect in custody, and within, I'd say, the last half hour or so, officials have identified this person, at least to NBC News. NBC News reporting the suspect is a 29-year-old man whose last known location was Bellingham, Washington. His name, Ramanullah Lakanwal, and he is the person who was believed to have essentially come around the corner as these guardsmen were on patrol, raised a firearm, and shot at them. Lakanwal, as we told you before, in the hospital getting treatment, is expected to survive. And a little bit more background on his history. The FBI has apparently told CNN that this is a person who immigrated here from Afghanistan in 2021, applied for asylum in 2024, and that asylum was granted earlier this year. Now, other brand new information we're getting this hour, a video statement from the governor of West Virginia. Of course, we mentioned West Virginia is the state from which these wounded guardsmen hail. And just moments ago, the governor mentioned that he has spoken with President Trump, and he released this video statement just a few minutes ago.
Earlier today, 2 West Virginia National Guardsmen were brazenly shot in Washington, D.C. This was an act of unspeakable violence. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers go out to the brave service members, their families, and the units who are enduring this terrible tragedy. We're going to work hard with West Virginia. I know the state stands behind the Guard. I know the president, who I just spoke to, stands behind these courageous service members and our state to get through this really difficult time. But just know, we're going to keep working to make sure that justice is served. Earlier today,
So a brief statement there from the governor of West Virginia, and that's Patrick Morrisey. We were actually following him earlier in the afternoon on social media as he has been putting out information throughout the afternoon, and did have some early information about those guardsmen being from his state. We are, of course, also seeing reaction from those within the military community, and we have Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth weighing in this evening, telling reporters that there will be some measures taken given what happened in D.C. So take a listen to what he said.
After those meetings, myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America. Heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong. And so we're following this very closely. We're getting information rapidly. And I mentioned the faith of this country, the Christian faith, the prayers. I would ask for prayers for our National Guardsmen.
Excuse me, Mr. P.
Appeals to heaven for our National Guardsmen, for their families, on bended knee as a War Department, as a nation.
Excuse me.
We will never back down.
Excuse
me. Think about them right now.
Venezuela.
We had a couple of great, productive meetings with the President and Minister of Defense here, where we are dedicated to the counter-cartel effort here. Criminality knows no boundaries, whether it's the United States of America and Washington, D.C., or it's the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere. We are going to go after narco-terrorists. It will not stand. Our borders will be secure, whether it's the Dominican Republic or the United States of America, and we look forward to working with our partners to make it happen. You know, President Trump believes in a clear principle: peace through strength. You get peace by being strong. And if you're a narco-terrorist who wants to bring drugs to the United States of America, we will find you, we will fix you, and we will finish you. Because we have all the rights in the world. We've got lots of attorneys and lots of intel analysts, and we know exactly who we're targeting and why. If you're involved in that conduct, we will kill you. It's that deadly serious because of the poison that has made its way into the American public for far too long. President Trump is serious about it, we're serious about it, and we're proud to be working with the Dominican Republic, another country very serious about ensuring that cartels don't set the agenda. We do. Thank you very much. It's been a great series of meetings.
Thank you very much.
And with that, folks, we'll take a quick break here on Live Impact. Back into with the very latest on the D.C. shooting, as well as other headlines from around the area. Welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News, continuing to follow the latest out of Washington, D.C. tonight, where live images from the scene still show a very active investigation following the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen over by Farragut Square, which is just a couple of blocks from the White House. You can see the crime scene tape out there. Washington, D.C. police are still on scene, and we know that multiple agencies are looking into the matter, getting a lot of information within the last hour or so. To recap all that we know, as we mentioned in the last several minutes, we've gotten some information from various officials, multiple officials who are familiar with this investigation, confirming to NBC News the identity of the suspect. In this case, the suspect, who remains, we understand, in the hospital getting treatment, but is expected to survive after the interaction between the suspect and National Guardsmen. A 29-year-old man called Romanullah Lakanwal, last known location, Bellingham, Washington State. CNN is reporting this person was Afghan national, immigrated here from 2021, applied for asylum in 2024, and that asylum granted earlier this year. At last check, the guardsmen who were injured in critical condition, shot in the head, according to some sources reporting this to NBC, and hailing from West Virginia. We'll keep you updated as more information comes in. Meantime, we know all of this is transpiring on the eve of Thanksgiving. We know a big travel day, holiday, if you will. There are several days kind of spanning before and after Thanksgiving when lots of folks are expected to be on the roadways. In fact, expected to be a record-breaking travel period as far as the roads are concerned. Over at Charlotte Douglas, they're actually still gearing up and preparing for their busiest stretch for Thanksgiving travel. And that's going to come at the end of the week, where there's multiple days where they believe essentially Saturday through Monday they'll have a lot of folks passing through Charlotte Douglas. So on that note, let's listen in to what officials have to say about that.
Started a busy travel weekend. How's it going so far, and what do you expect the next couple days?
Well, it's going incredibly well. We know at American Airlines that every flight is important, but we realize that for the holiday travel season, it takes a whole different meaning to travel, and American Airlines is ready to care for our customers during the holiday travel season. American Airlines has its second largest hub in Charlotte. We take great pride in giving access to our customers to over 170 unique destinations in 27 countries and over 670 daily peak departures. That is going to give our customers unmatched access to destinations and flights, and more so than in any other airport or across our network. This travel season, our customers can have incredible confidence in our team. We're expecting just in Charlotte over 8,000 flights, and that's a part of 81,000 flights across our network. That will make our operation the largest operation of any commercial carrier worldwide, and our customers can expect unmatched commitment and service from our team.
And I guess 2 weeks ago, were you worried about how things were going to pan out in travel season with the shutdown and everything? You're probably glad it didn't work out in the worst case scenario.
Sure. So we're extremely happy that the FAA mandated flight disruptions are now behind us. During that period, American took all the necessary steps to mitigate the impact to travel for our customers. I do want to recognize the work of our team to care for our customers during those weeks of uncertainty, and also the teams at the Federal Administration, Aviation Administration, our TSA colleagues, Customs and Border Patrol, they all helped us keep this hub moving and our airline moving, and we're incredibly appreciative. Now with that behind us and the work that our team did, which I highlight that American led the way in the recovery during these disruptions, and with the actions taken, it's leading to a great travel holiday season for our customers and giving much needed confidence during holiday travel plans.
What message do you have for passengers who, they kind of waited, they put off their travel reservations, not sure about things, about delays or disruptions or the ATC shortage? What word do you have for them? Yeah, it's okay, come on and fly with us. Is it too late to make our travel reservations for Thanksgiving?
It's never too late to get out and travel. Our team at American took all the necessary steps to protect and help mitigate the impact to our customers. We led the recovery during the travel holiday disruptions, during the earlier weeks of travel disruption. And that should give our customers incredible confidence. And certainly now with those mandated disruptions from the FAA behind us, our customers could have assurance that we are ready to take care of them and get them to their loved ones, to their Thanksgiving table, or to their favorite holiday travel spot during the upcoming travel season.
Is this the busiest season for you all, and how do efforts look different this time of year than any other?
So Thanksgiving is one of the busiest travel periods of the year, and from our flight crews to our customer service agents to our technical operations team caring for our fleet, it's all hands on deck. We prepare for holiday periods like this for an entire year to make sure our fleet is ready, our schedule is optimized to be reliable for our customers, coordination with all of our stakeholders that support our industry, CLT Airport, our colleagues at the TSA, FAA. It's a massive effort to ensure that our customers are safely and reliably taken care of during their journey.
The use of wheelchairs, strollers, baggage carts, walkers,
Yeah,
and
you're welcome. Excellent.
All right, so once again, an update from American Airlines over at Charlotte Douglas. Speaking of which, we've got some delays. We see this as a live look at FlightAware's delays and cancellations count. So 146 delays within, into, or out of Charlotte Douglas. No cancellations. Just a reminder, of course, to always check with your airline ahead of time before you get to the airport, just to make sure everything is up and running as expected with your flight. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes with the very latest on D.C. and other headlines we're following around the area. All right, welcome back here to Live Impact News. Of course, we continue to follow the latest out of D.C. We also have some big headlines we're following out of the Charlotte area, as we've been reporting in just a matter of days. A piece of legislation known as Arena's Law. It was passed in the wake of the death of Irina Zarutska on the light rail, stabbing death. This law is going to take effect on Monday. And we've got a lot of folks with different agencies and entities around the Mecklenburg County area trying to prepare for the implications of this law. One of the question marks for folks we're seeing that are part of essentially the criminal justice system, so whether that's the sheriff's office or you've got the district attorney, there are going to be requirements and stipulations, which some folks are saying will require more resources in order to abide by the law. Our Julie Kay actually just sat down with somebody to get a little bit more insight on, all of the different impacts this could have. So we're going to hear her chat with Don Brown, who's a former prosecutor. He's now running to represent North Carolina in the U.S. Senate. He says this law is a step in the right direction. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And of course, we'll hop back in with more context on the other side.
So I want to start with, we're here in Charlotte, Arena's Law that goes into effect on Monday, of course, after an incident that happened here on our Charlotte Light Rail with Irina Zarutska. I want to know from your perspective, what do you think about this and what are you hoping comes of this law come Monday?
Thank you so much, Julie. The law is a step in the right direction. It's aimed at preventing a revolving door policy, which what we've seen. Because for one thing, our jails and prisons are full, but it will prevent an automatic revolving door policy of putting multiple convicted offenders on the street. So that's a step in the right direction. And the other thing I think folks should remember is going to step up the requirement for psychiatric evaluation before release, which I think needs to happen. We got a big psychiatric problem out there, which is part of the criminal justice system that's going to be needed to be addressed on a broader scale. I'm happy to speak to that. But I was glad to see the General Assembly take swift action here. It's going to certainly help some, but we got a long way to go to try to get the problem rectified.
I know part of that problem, too, is just how do we pay for all this? Of course, right now we have no state budget. Mecklenburg County, the sheriff came out yesterday and said, we're going to see what we can do, but without more funding, it's going to have to come out of our county funding. So how do you think that jails already at capacity, like the one in Mecklenburg County, should be, where should the funding come from? Should it be local governments or should it be from the state?
I think it's going to need to be a combined state and federal. But let me address this: is the same Democrat Mecklenburg County sheriff that refused to honor 1,400 ICE detainers. If he'd honored those detainers, ICE would have picked those folks up, and he would have fewer criminals on the street, and therefore the jail would not be as crowded as he is. So I don't pay a whole lot of attention to what a Democrat sheriff of Mecklenburg County says. But let me say, from a broader standpoint, there's a problem with psychiatric issues going out on the streets. And I've been involved in cases as a prosecutor and also as a defense counsel. If you find somebody that cannot be, prosecuted because of lack of capacity for whatever reason, you can't just, if they are dangerous, and that's the key. Not all folks who have mental, issues are dangerous at all. Some are passive and soft, but if you're dangerous and you have a propensity for danger, just like this, I call him an animal. Somebody else chastise me for that, who murdered this poor girl, Irina, just a sweet young lady. If you've got that type, if that is truly a psychiatric issue that guy's dealing with, he's got to be off the street. And what does that mean? That means that when you look at our criminal justice system, when you go into law school, you go through criminal law and procedure, you explain that there are several objectives. There's deterrence, there's rehabilitation, there's punishment, etc. But we got to protect our folks on the street. And so we got to have long-term psychiatric facilities that can hold folks like that. If you're not going to convict this guy because you say he doesn't have capacity, if that is the case, you still have to take him off the street. So from a broader standpoint, both in the state and federally, we're going to have long-term psychiatric facilities to hold folks like that, to keep them off the street, to protect you and me and our families and others. And And part of this is going to be, rearranging how we're spending some of our budgetary choices, both in the state and the federal arena. We're going to have to scramble stuff around to get the money to do what we need to do, because one of the most important roles of government, either at the state or the federal level, is to protect people and protect innocent people. And that's got to move to the top of the totem pole, in my opinion, Julie.
I'm really glad you brought up the psychiatric feds too, and just where that funding should come from in general, because I know right now everyone's budgets are a little bit tight. So I know, of course, you're announcing your run for U.S. Senate. Is that something that you would push for at the federal level?
I'm going to make the argument. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to apologize for cutting you off. I'm going to make the argument, using my position as a U.S. Senator and as a candidate, sort of as a bully pulpit, as they call it, for lack of a better phrase, that this is a problem that has to be addressed both at the state level, and I'm a states' rights guy. I believe in the 10th Amendment that any power not specifically delegated to the federal government comes back to the state. So I'm not calling for federal override, but I'm saying there has to be a partnership here with the feds and with the states for long-term, what I would call criminal psychiatric facilities. What I mean by that is someone has been accused of a crime, indicted, found to have probable cause, but you can't try them for whatever reason. You can't put them on the street if the crime is violent. You just take, for example, what's going on with the federal government right now. President Trump, I think, has executed brilliantly. He's gone after the Department of Education. I call it the Department of Indoctrination. Our state constitution requires a public education, which I think is a great thing. The federal constitution doesn't. That money should never go to the feds to come back to the states. You should stay with the states. Department of Education, eliminate it. That gives you money. Eliminate the Internal Revenue Service. At the federal level, DOGE, Julie, recommended elimination of 300 out of the approximately 400 or so federal agencies. You start eliminating these agencies, and you can reshift resources. It's kind of like if you and I, we were to go out to dinner, and we could order all kinds of expensive stuff, or we could, order from the what do you call it, the happy. I won't say that. You could order from the bar, the cheap menu, and save money. And we got to make choices both in the state and the federal level to cut in certain areas and reprioritize in other areas. And of course, education is got to be prioritized at the state level, and also public safety. And so the notion of now looking, we're going to have long-term psychiatric facilities has got to be looked at both the federal and the state level, primarily at the state level, because most governing should take place at the state and not the federal level.
On that note, North Carolina specifically, like I mentioned, has no state budget. What would you like to see from Republican lawmakers here in terms of when that budget will be passed and criminal justice funding in that budget?
Well, of course, I'm not running for the General Assembly. I'm running for the United States Congress. There are members of the General Assembly that say that we are currently operating on an operating budget. People are getting paid. But what I would like to see is a reevaluation of our criminal justice system. I would like to see a lot of the fluff welfare policies cut, and that money be reallocated to criminal justice. So I'm not prepared to go through a line by line item in the state budget because I'm running for the United States Congress and not the North Carolina General Assembly. But generally, we've got to do that.
Yeah, I was just curious, because this is a North Carolina state law, if you had any thoughts on what specifically you'd like to see here. In terms of your experience as a prosecutor, anything that you wanted to share else about the things that you saw that you think need to be fixed other than what this law covers?
Well, again, I think we've got to have facilities for psychiatric criminals that are harmful. I think they did a really, really good job on a short-term notice, almost immediately after these horrific videos were made, nationally and internationally rebroadcast, to slow down the open door, ridiculous policy that had been in place, that had been put in basically when the Democrats were running things. We're going to have to go farther. I'm sure that Speaker Hall and other representatives like Keith Kibble and others are going to get together and continue to examine what needs to be done in the next session. But I want to see a solution for longer-term psychiatric facilities within the criminal system, so that guys like this person, has been sent off for evaluation. If somebody says, you can't try him, you can't put him back on the street. So we got to have the facilities to do that. If the General Assembly had passed a law saying they've got to be permanently incarcerated, to keep for the safety of the public, and I would agree with that, situations like this, you still got to have a place to house them. So we got to take a hard look at this on both sides of the aisle and understand that protection of folks on the street, of North Carolinians and Americans, is one of the most important and principal jobs of government. So that you and I can go Christmas shopping the day after Thanksgiving. I don't know what your Black Friday plans are. I kind of use the internet these days, but so you can go to the South Park, wherever you want to go, without fear of being attacked. And that's what the Congress and the General Assembly and Governor Stein's got to get on board. I've not been pleased with the soft on crime philosophy. He's got to get on board too. So that's what I encourage my colleagues in the General Assembly to focus on.
And then your run in general. I want to talk about why you decided to run for U.S. Senate and why you want to represent North Carolina.
Well, thank you. First of all, I love North Carolina. I've lived here pretty much all my life, except for my time in the military. The thing that I was never planning to do this, the straw that broke the camel's back. If Pete Hegseth is a friend, he's the Secretary of War. I worked with him on some major cases regarding rules of engagement coming out of the Obama administration. We worked together to persuade President Trump to pardon Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, the paratrooper who had been at Fort Bragg, prosecuted for quote-unquote murder because of a firefight that his platoon got in Afghanistan. And so Tillis, our current senior senator Tom Tillis, was opposing some of the president's nominees. He had promised, that is, Tillis had promised that if a nominee cleared the Senate committees for appointment, that he would go along with it. Pete Hegseth cleared the Armed Services Committee. Tillis tried to torpedo that nomination, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me to challenge Senator Tillis. Senator Tillis has now dropped out of the race. I'm in the race. We have a major, dangerous problem with the national debt. We're expending money still too fast. It's come down under Republicans. We were increasing the debt almost $60,000 a second to the Democrats. Now it's about $35,000, $37,000 a second. That's still too much. And we're going to have to suck it up and reduce the size of the federal government. And the Democrats are going to whine about it. They're going to say we're taking candy. You're not taking candy or anybody from anything. But if we go off the cliff, in other words, what's going to happen? If we lose the U.S. dollar, and that will happen if we don't save it by reducing the rate of spending, it's going to affect all of us. It's going to hit us hard in North Carolina. We will become a poorer nation. And so I don't see that the Republican Party right now has a national plan to attack that. Of course, the Democrats are spend and go lucky, spend. We as Republicans talk about reducing spending, but we got to do more. And so I'm going to lead the charge to try to save the dollar on the floor of the Senate. I'm going to lead the charge for law and order, and I will stand for our veterans and for the United States military. I'll say this: I was in Greensboro speaking to the North Carolina Federation of Republican Women, and I'll tell you what I told them. I believe that the lowest ranking private in the Army, the lowest ranking seaman in the Navy, or airman in the Air Force is more important to this country than the highest ranking member of the Congress. And I think it's an absolute crime that our veterans receive inferior health care to members of the Congress, and I'm going to work to try to fix that.
Anything else I haven't asked about that you want people to know?
Well, I'm just happy to be on WUNC. I want my people to know to keep writing Julie and folks and tell them to have me back on WUNC, because we love WUNC and the University of North Carolina system. So thank you for having me. And happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and all your viewers and listeners.
Yeah, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Thanks for doing this on a holiday week. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. We'll talk
to you soon.
Bye.
You bet. Yeah.
All right, back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Once again, that was former prosecutor now running for U.S. Senate, Don Brown, remarking on not just his campaign, but also his support for Irina's law legislation passed in the wake of the stabbing death of Irina Zarutska on the light rail. We're seeing, of course, with that law set to take effect Monday, a lot of questions from folks who will be in charge of implementing these changes and abiding by the law, discussing how the resources might play into this. So we know that the law provides for 10 new prosecutors for the county and 5 legal assistants, but we're hearing from, for example, the sheriff of Mecklenburg County, Gary McFadden, talking about the fact that this will add to the jail population, and he feels like he might need more officers, detention officers, to deal with that. Much more to come. Of course, you can look at our body of reporting on WCNC.com to get a bigger backstory. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be back on the other side, 2 minutes away, with your latest updates. Back here with some breaking updates from D.C. and some new information on evidence recovered at that shooting scene. And we can actually see the scene is still quite active. Live images right now from the area near Farragut Square, just a few blocks from the White House, where several hours ago, authorities say a gunman believed to be motivated in a targeted attack against National Guard attacked and shot at National Guard members who were on visible patrol in the area. Within the last couple of moments, CNN is now reporting that investigators say that they believe that they have recovered the handgun used in the attack on the National Guard members. They are trying to figure out when and how the suspect in this case obtained it. And of course, that's always a big question with any sort of shooting investigation. But of note here, we've mentioned the fact that this person who has been identified as Ramanullah Lakhanwal, a 29-year-old man from Bellingham, Washington, apparently came from Afghanistan, immigrated into the U.S. In 2021, applied for asylum back in 2024 and had that granted earlier this year. And we're saying all this to kind of set the table for the questioning of how the suspect obtained the firearm, presumably, as U.S. law does restrict firearm sales to people who are not citizens or legal permanent residents. So it's unclear whether the suspected gunman in this case legally bought the handgun. Additionally, we're seeing officials reporting that there was some video of the shooting captured on camera. There's a nearby metro station, which we talked about. This is Farragut Square area, so it's the Farragut West Metro Station. And there's video from that station that apparently shows the gunman approaching 3 National Guard members as they were on patrol. They appeared to not be aware that he was there until he started shooting. This video, according to sources who told us to CNN, showed the suspected shooter here striking one Guard member with his gunfire, then another, then standing over the first Guard member and trying to fire another round. And that's when a third Guard member, so once again, there were 3 in the group, returned fire at the alleged shooter. And that was another kind of question that was still up in the air during the last briefing with officials around the 5 o'clock hour, was how did the gunman get wounded? Because we know the gunman was shot, according to authorities, but they didn't say who shot him, how it went down. All we know is the person was shot and went to the hospital and is expected to survive. So minute by minute, we continue to get updates in this case, and we will, of course, keep you updated anytime we get any nugget of information here on Live Impact News. But you can see the scene set here for at least the next several hours and maybe even potentially longer, who knows, for this roadway to be closed and evidence continue to be combed and gathered out of the scene. So the second we get another word of new details, we'll pass that along to you. Good time to take a quick break. Back in 2 minutes, we'll have the very latest, if anything, news coming out of D.C. in the last couple of minutes while we're in the break. Otherwise, we've got other big headlines to talk about out of the Charlotte area. We'll see you in 2. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. Here in the Charlotte area, we've got a lot of folks gearing up for post-Thanksgiving activities. I know the holiday hasn't even happened yet, but, following Thanksgiving, you usually have Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday. So there are a lot of things that folks need to know. Small Business Saturday, really expected to take off with an event in South End. So we want to talk about that first off and how you can support the small business community here in the Charlotte area. Let's listen in.
At 9:39, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus on this Monday morning of what is going to be the start, and we are just ramping up, getting into the thick of things for this holiday season, right? So as you think about your turkey dinner, I know a lot of folks are already thinking about shopping. I've seen those pre-Black Friday sales and ads. It's like, are we calling this pre-Black Friday now? Is that going to be a thing? That's going to be a thing, pre-Black Friday.
I don't hate it.
Right? We all take advantage of that. So this holiday shopping season, right, it's in full swing. And this Saturday, Charlotte's South End neighborhood is hosting its Shop Small Saturday event. It's a great one. Joining us right now here in the studio, Brianna Bowers from Charlotte Center City Partners to tell us more about this year's event. Brianna, nice to have you here again.
Thank you for having me back. I'm so excited to talk about Shop Small.
Oh, I mean, so many fun things that happen, and Charlotte Center City Partners is such a great group that helps foster all of these events. All right, so this one, though, in the South End area has been a tradition for what, since 2011?
Yes.
Wow. What makes this year's event, or what makes this event so special?
Oh, gosh. It is just the one-stop shop for shopping with all of the small businesses. We close down Camden Road, and we line it with over 120 small business vendors. So you can expect everything from body care to pet care to jewelry to clothing, and even more. And it really is just a great way to check off your gift list while making sure that you are supporting some small businesses.
Yeah, I see 120 small business vendors participating.
Yes.
You named some of the items, and a lot of unique items too.
Yes.
There on Camden Road. Talk to us about the Holiday Zone at the Design Center. What can we expect there?
Yeah, so if you need a little break from shopping, you can step into our Holiday Zone, which is basically all things festive. We're going to have some holiday karaoke that you can participate in.
Oh, say no more.
Yes, Santa is going to be on site from 12 to 3 p.m. so you can come by and get your perfect photo with Santa to use for your holiday card. There's going to be a gift wrapping station, mistletoe moments, and 500 hot chocolates with Shake Shack for the first 500 people to come by the Holiday Zone.
Right.
So we're super excited. All of these activations are brought to us by local businesses such as J. Major's Bridal and Great Star and Huntington Bank, and we are just so excited.
The Shop Small Hero Card Program, what is that about for shoppers?
Yes, so stop by the South End Info Tent. There's going to be 2 near each entrance of the event. There's 2 entrances. So stop by and grab your hero card. What you're going to do is for every $10 that you spend with a small business, they're going to give you a sticker. If you fill up 5, I believe, spots on your hero card, you can exchange that back at the South End Info Tent for a South End tote bag.
Okay, very good. And then continue shopping, right?
Yes.
For folks who have not been to South End before, during a regular weekend, it can be challenging to find parking, all right? It can be a little tricky in the area. What do people need to know about going this weekend?
This weekend, there will definitely account for parking.
Okay.
Make sure that you...
the light rail, too.
You can take the light rail in. It's going to be East-West Boulevard Station. That's going to be your closest get-on, get-off point. Parking will definitely be available. You just need to make sure that you're ready to find a spot and then get out and go shopping, and make sure that you also grab some lunch or some dinner in the area and just make it a full South End day.
Yeah, so many good restaurants there too. So fun just to take the day and walk the little not light rail,
the rail trail.
Rail trail. That That shows you how much I use the rail trail because I'm such the runner. All right, why is it so important to support small businesses?
Oh gosh, supporting these small businesses, it really does mean supporting their dreams. It really does mean so much to these businesses. We hear it every single year. They come back and say just how much being at this event means to them. It's a really huge day for them, and these really are like their dreams. They're building these companies, and it's just so important to come out and really make that connection with those business owners and see their dreams come true.
Yeah, I mean, in South End, it's so hip happening anyway, and so really after Saturday's big event, it would be nice that people continue shopping local throughout the year and eating local, right?
Absolutely.
Brianna, anything else we need to let our friends and viewers know out there on Live Impact News?
Shop Small Saturday is actually kicking off the holiday season in South End, so you can visit southendclt.org, and we have a whole page just dedicated to all things holidays that you can do. You can find where the festive pop-up bars are, anywhere that's having seasonal food and drink, any shopping and events all across the district. If you are really looking forward to exploring the neighborhood for the holiday season, that is where you can learn more about how you can do that.
And Majestic told us the weather should be cooperative. Nice, cool, crisp, fall-like weather this first weekend, full weekend, real weekend of holiday shopping. None of that pre-stuff, although it's all good too, right? Okay, thanks Brianna Bowers from Charlotte Center City Partners talking about Shop Small Saturday. Enjoy yourselves this weekend as you make your way through South End.
Indeed, enjoy, folks. And with that, a quick break here. Back in 2 minutes with the very latest from D.C. and the active investigation into the shooting of 2 National Guard members. Hi, folks. Thanks so much for sticking with us here on Live Impact News as we continue to cover that breaking news out of Washington, D.C. tonight. Live images right now from near Farragut Square. This is about 17th Street and I Street, site of a shooting from just hours ago. A shooting which officials are telling us was a targeted attack against National Guard members. Within the last several minutes, we've learned a few more details about how this actual shooting transpired. This information reported to CNN from law enforcement officials who are familiar with the current investigation underway. We are hearing that there was surveillance video from a nearby metro station that showed that shooting as it went down. The video being described as showing the gunman, who has now been identified as a 29-year-old man of Afghanistan origin, who immigrated to the United States in 2021, applied for asylum in 2024, and was granted that asylum this year. As a person who has approached 3 National Guard members who were on patrol, apparently they did not see him until he started shooting. The video, we're told, shows him striking one of the Guard members, then the other, and then standing over the first Guard member and appearing to try to fire another round. And that's when the 3rd Guard member, who was part of that group, returned fire at that shooter. We're told the person is expected to survive. And actually, just moments ago, CNN posting another update on the actual suspect here. I'm just looking through it really quickly to make sure that there's nothing brand new. Okay, it appears to just be a recap of some of the information, which I've just recounted for you. It's kind of all in one spot. So once again, much more to come, as this is a very active scene. At last check, the 2 guardsmen who were injured are still fighting for their life. Critical injuries. NBC News hearing from officials who are familiar with the investigation that these 2 guardsmen from West Virginia were shot in the head. So much more to come. We do have our next hour of programming coming up here on WCNC Plus. Meantime, we urge you to keep it here streaming with us all night long. We'll be back with the news at 11 with much more on this case and other headlines from around the area.